I'm doing my speech on relationship deterioration and repair. You get bored of the everyday routine. You might meet a new person, and it could strengthen into something else, and could weaken the bond you have with the partner you have.
This was years before Chris met Nicole. Still, what he says here is comparable to how he met Nicole, a woman from work, as a result of how he viewed his marriage.
I couldn't be myself around Shanann anymore. Why not? It was like I was walking just like walk on eggshells type thing.
When you have good communication, you show more nonverbal communication, which is the majority of the messages we send.
It's ironic to hear Chris talk about nonverbal communication, because what does it say about him that he wasn't able to find appropriate facial expressions when he used emotional words to feign being a normal, concerned father and husband?
And it was just a traumatic night trying to be here. I want those kids back so bad. I like these shirts a lot.
Emotions don't come naturally to him, so when he expresses emotions, we can't trust them. The speech is like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You'll see two people at a table, and you'll see both of them on their phones, either Facebook comment status, or maybe playing the game, and there's no communication at all.
Shanann recorded many videos of her, Chris, and their children. Videos that show Shanann talking, and Chris mostly being quiet and going through the motions.
What you do, 5 miles? Well, come over.
Oh, sorry.
The videos reveal important differences between Shanann and Chris's personalities. It was predictable that Chris would end up being unhappy with everyday interactions.
You have to ask yourself 3 questions when you're in a relationship. Do I have a desire to keep this relationship going? Do I have a moral obligation to stay in this relationship? Or is it a necessity for me to stay in this relationship?
Yet, with his crime, he chose to disregard all of that.
Sometimes when you have children and your relationship starts to deteriorate, a child could help repair it.
I don't know what research Chris has done or which research he might have cherry-picked, but this certainly wasn't true for him.
If you met somebody at work or a new friendship has occurred and that would gradually push the old relationship out and push the new relationship in.
This speech is such a self-fulfilling prophecy that it almost sounds like Chris says this to give himself an excuse. Chris gave this speech before he married Shanann, and he's referencing literature. However, the point about an extramarital relationship appears to be on his mind, a very much present thought, because he keeps hammering it.
Or you just see something he or she does and it just gets on your nerves and you just can't let that go. And you feel you might do better with someone else that you've met. Repair is not an option and they want to get away and start new.
What Chris says here could easily become a bad excuse to do whatever you want. That if you're annoyed by something your spouse does, it's probably his or her fault. And therefore you have the right to do this or do that, especially when your family is already against your marriage, which reinforces that you're right, even if you're not.
Sometimes you no longer find your partner attractive, physically or in their personality. If you want your relationship to keep going, I would suggest maybe go to a place where you first met, or go bungee jumping.
While bungee jumping might be a fun activity, it doesn't solve your day-to-day problems. The problems are still there. This solution is short-sighted and focused on the here and now, exactly like Chris's relationship with Nicole, where he did all sorts of cool activities. A relationship that's destined to fail because it isn't thought out.
She wanted to go to the car museum, Shelby Museum in Boulder. I've never been there. And
That's right up your alley.
I was just like, that was awesome. Just a drag race in Vandermeer. Went camping in Sand Dunes National Park, and I'd never been camping. I always wanted to do it.
When you find someone who's willing to do all the things you want to do, it doesn't mean it's indicative of how the relationship is going to be in the future.
I didn't take control of the situation. It was like the situation controlling me. It was like a roller coaster ride that I just
kept punching it, take it on.
Listen to your partner. Make sure they feel wanted. Make sure that they know that you're there and not in space somewhere thinking about the baseball game that's coming up or the football game that's coming up, which I sometimes do.
This excerpt shows that even a person who sounds like he's able to hold himself accountable and has a friendly and humble demeanor is capable of doing the worst things imaginable. This demeanor can function as a mask in order to seem harmless.
And he was a good kid. Bella was just like Chris. Shy, cautious, conservative.
I think, like when you say like more like a shy guy, it's kind of like I've never like been pursued by anybody before.
Chris is a pathological liar, so it's impossible to trust his humble admissions and jovial facial expressions, let alone trust that he believes what he's referencing or copying. Talking to a communications class about relationships is the perfect opportunity for deceptive people to be seen as caring, considerate, and moral. It's an obvious place to hide.
It's a smile, a wink, a kiss, maybe just a hug, anything at all. And keep channels of communication open. Always disclose your feelings. Don't keep things bottled up because it will later come back to bite you.
Judging from Chris's descriptions about his crime, it was bottled up emotions that came back to bite him. Thus, he's quite literally describing his crime years before it happened.
There was already something in my mind that was implanted that I was going to do it, and I woke up that morning, it was going to happen, and I had no control of it.
The thing about Chris and emotions, though, is that he doesn't seem to have them.
These are your baby girls, and you have not shed one tear over them not being around. Yeah, no, that's weird. Is that weird?
You know, my attorneys told me, like, you need to show a little more emotion. They said I was just a cold person, just looking at it.
This makes it difficult to believe the depth of whatever bottled-up emotions he might have and might have had.
Don't have a win-lose solution. The win-lose solution, sometimes when somebody loses, you'll have hostility and you'll have resentment. Sometimes they may not show it, but they will be thinking it.
Considering his crime, this part of his speech is pure hypocrisy, because he chose a solution where his wife and children lost and he won, at least for a short time, because he kept lying in interviews, hoping he would get away with it. In Chris's mind, there was only going to be one winner, him.
And you'll have resentment. Sometimes they may not show it, but they will be thinking it.
In the same way, Chris didn't show his likely resentment when he was being recorded, or allegedly felt like he wasn't in control.
Relationships are hard, but they're worth it in the end. Thank you.
The ending goes to show that there's oftentimes a world of difference between nice-sounding platitudes and reality, whether it's celebrities or criminals saying them. Because with his deliberate actions, Chris showed that he didn't think the relationships to the people that were closest to him were worth it.
The day she goes missing is the day that you guys have marital discord. Okay? So you can understand what I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It makes me sick to my stomach, honestly. Like, I know, like, I've talked to a few of my friends, is like, you know, this does not look good on you. I'm like, I know. It's like, people that, if people knew that we were having marital issues, they're gonna look at me. Especially with the way everything looks. And it honestly just makes me sick to my stomach because this is something that I would never do. Ever. It makes me sick to my stomach, honestly. And it honestly just makes me sick to my stomach.
Appeals to honesty, like to be honest and honestly, often enter a suspect's language when he's lying, hasn't been honest up until a certain point, or is withholding information, not because it's automatically deceptive, but because it could point to the opposite, that Watts isn't sick to his stomach as he dramatizes it.
I've talked to a few of my friends, is like, you know, this does not look good on you. I'm like, I know.
Here, Watts mimics Coder's concerns, claiming that he's talked to a few of his friends who've said the same. By referring to his friends, Watts indirectly denies Coder's implicit question, did you hurt your family? Watts says this is something he'd never do, which isn't the same as saying he didn't do it. A person might never want to hurt anybody, generically, but that doesn't mean they didn't hurt anybody, specifically. There's a linguistic difference there, so Watts' denial is weak.
I'm not sure like what I could do like to make people believe that, just because if they knew we were having marital discord, they would automatically look at me. But there's no, I would harm anybody in my family at all. I know we were having marital discord, and we had that conversation that morning, and then she goes, we have no idea where she is or the kids.
In conversations, it's uncomfortable when the person we're speaking to doesn't acknowledge what we're saying. The effect of withholding acknowledgement tokens is that the speaker starts repeating himself and overemphasizing, all of which points to nervousness, which again could point to guilty knowledge, because if the speaker has nothing to hide, why is he nervous? Again, Watts says what he'd never do, not what he didn't do. And when Coda is being unresponsive, Watts overemphasizes with at all.
At all.
Same as the word ever.
This is something that I would never do. Ever.
Such unnecessary, overly convincing linguistic elements are present when suspects are more preoccupied with how agents perceive them than their missing loved ones. It's ironic how statements that are meant to be persuasive are oftentimes the least persuasive of all.
I'm not sure like what I could do like to make people believe that.
The words "make people believe" are interesting because that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to make Coda believe him, but he doesn't say, "I'm not sure what I could do to make you believe," which would be personal and direct. Instead, Watts indirectly addresses Coda by referring to people, just like he referred to a few friends previously.
I've talked to a few of my friends, it's like, this does not look good on you. I'm like, I know anybody in my family. At all.
At all is overemphasis. Watts exaggerating his supposed innocence, and he says it with exaggerated affective prosody, which is a way of manipulating one's voice to convey emotion, not because the speaker is actually emotional, but because the speaker wants to be perceived as being emotional.
Anybody in my family. We have no idea where she is, or the kids.
He distances himself by associating with other people, using the pronoun we when the pronoun I is expected.
We have no idea where she is, or the kids.
Linguistically, this is a way of sharing the burden of not knowing, which again is a way of avoiding suspicion, or at least avoiding talking about the suspicion.
I promise you that I had nothing to do with any of that.
Are you telling me the truth?
I'm telling you the absolute truth. I'm telling you the absolute truth.
Watts' recurring use of affective prosody reveals that being believed is sensitive to him. He's begging to be believed in an overdone fashion. He even adds absolute to his repetition of Coda's question.
I promise you that I did nothing.
Watts' self-repairs indicate an alarming amount of stress that's further underlined by his recurring use of overly convincing language.
I promise you.
Any of that is unspecific, pointing to Watts distancing himself from his experiential memory, his knowledge about his crime. Next, Watts makes a sales pitch, as if this is a job interview.
Why should I believe you?
Because I'm a very trustworthy person, and the people that do know me, they know how I'm a calm person. You can talk to any of my friends, any of her friends. They know me. If someone yells at me, screams at me, I just take it, and I just try to get it by the wayside and get it back to where it's cool, just a cool conversation to where none of that gets to that height. Never been that person.
Notably, Watts doesn't provide an alibi for the specific incident, the specific situation. Instead, he makes general statements about his personality, a fantasy version of himself, of how he wants Coda to perceive him. Thus, Watts exaggerates his innocence. This is yet another red flag, especially because Watts' self-branding proves to be deceptive during the interrogation.
I have never cheated on my wife. I've always been a trustworthy person. I fully expect if we ever thought about straying another way, that we would tell each other before it happened.
I cheated on her. I didn't hurt her. I cheated on her. I hurt her emotionally. I cheated on her. I feel absolutely horrible about this, but that's what I've been holding back.
So as it turns out, he's not a trustworthy person, which was the reason for his self-aggrandizing sales pitch in the first place. Watts' admissions are proportionate to the negative development in the interrogation. When he's asked about something he can be convicted of, what he did to his family, he's suddenly willing to admit to something that he knows he can't be convicted of, as if that's his big secret, cheating. He just said he didn't hurt his wife. Now he says he did. Watts can't keep track of his lies, and his own words keep betraying him. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and click the notification bell for all updates. See you next time.